And in our next heat, we have some really epic sailors. Ooh, Takuma, Julien, and Joaquin. I'm really excited to watch Julien FLECHET sail. You know, he's a team rider of mine on hot sails, and he's really been killing it. He's just like his brother, super well-rounded sailor, and I think he has a really great future in competitive windsurfing. Takuma is a rider who's been very on point out here. Definitely looking forward to seeing his sailing.
Takuma's coming off a very impressive result in Fiji, where he made the final, and got his face all torn up for the pleasure. Boy, oh boy, that event really took it out of a lot of people. Took a lot of skin, took a lot of damage, took a lot of reputations, a lot of scalps. I mean, it was really kind of a brutal event, but he emerged on top out of that, and he is here today to try and sort of see if he can hold, maintain, grow his ranking. He's a very, very good sailor. He's an excellent freestyle sailor, and we can probably expect to see some of those great moves on this sort of a wave, don't you think, Matt?
Oh, definitely. The last couple of free sessions that we've had together, he's been riding switch stance. He's been riding like back to sail. Not to mention all the different maneuvers that he has in his arsenal that apply so well to this wave. All those little maneuvers, they show just a comfort and an ease with the windsurfing equipment that, like, even some of the windsurfing greats, like the wave sailing greats, don't have the ability to throw the sail around the way that you would if you had a freestyle background. And that's something that Takuma is bringing, and it's something that he's already showed in quite a few events. Of course, Fiji, it was just straight up wave knowledge and the ability to hit huge sections of consequence without fear.
Yeah, you need to turn a large part of your self-defense brain off. Just turn it off. You can't have it on even a little bit. That wave required split-second, millisecond no thinking activation and instinct powering through those sections where you just every sinew, every part of your brain is screaming at you to pull out, jump off, get out of here. But no, you're just full speed charging at these lips and going for broke. And the people who pulled it off got through. Boy, oh boy. Well, and you had a bit of a rough time in Fiji because you and Morgan both in that second day, which was a smaller day, you shone, both of you, on that first day when it was big, and then on the second day you ended up not making the semi-finals, which was I'm sure was a huge disappointment for you both. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, no, that was very tough. I mean, it's a very similar situation to what Antoine just went through in his heat, where, if the waves are not coming your way, if you're out of rhythm with the sets, it doesn't matter. You can't really reason with the waves in that sense and be like, listen, I'm two-time world Aloha Classic champion Barrett Roediger. Like, why don't you throw me a bone here and give me a wave? It's like, it just doesn't work that way. So it can be tough. It can be humbling, and it is a nice way to reset. Like coming into an event like this, it's quite nice. After Fiji, seeing how formidable all the contestants are here. You're like, okay, actually, I'm kind of starting from square one again. So those kind of resets are nice.
I think there are. I mean, you guys are such incredible riders, but I mean, it's just not possible to win every event or even make every final at every one of these things. It's impossible. I think partly because it just requires such an alchemy of ocean, timing, fitness, body health, injury-free, mental headspace, competitors doing their things and you doing your things. There are so many things that need to come together to really make a final, let alone win one of these events, that it's very, very challenging. And everyone does expect to have their bad days, but doesn't make them good days, does it?
No, definitely not. And like in this heat, for example, here we have Julien. He's coming down the line on a wave that's sort of medium size, but it looks like it's lining up quite well. And in the last heat, with the amount of sets that came through and the amount of quality waves, you might look at a wave like this and think, well, is it worth taking all the way down? But with how variable the conditions were, you know, it might really work out for him. That's the nature of wave sailing competition. You know, you do have to go with your gut to a certain degree, and like you said, you know, there's an alchemy of so many different things coming together, and you sort of remaining open as much as possible to all the good things that can come your way in a wave sailing competition.
I mean, this wave of Julien's, it's not an amazing wave, but I mean, he's certainly got scoring potential. He certainly needs a score, and he's inside. He caught this at just before 5 minutes in, and he's now going to finish it with, you know, close to 6 minutes, I imagine, by the time it's done. It's a long wave. I mean, it's a minute or more. But he's, you know, he needs a wave score. And so once you're in at that sort of 5 or 6 minute mark, oh, well done, very smooth. I mean, on a relatively easy part of the wave and at the end, but now nonetheless, effortless. It'll all add to that score. Julien will be happy with that. Now he's got to get back out and try and get a big punchy one, because that wave, what do you think? We'll see what the score is. But I mean, it's hard to get up in the excellent range. We haven't seen really anyone hit the excellent range yet, have we?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the judges are looking for. I mean, you know, again, going back to this wave, there was a lot of downtime between the multiple different sections. And for that reason, who knows, maybe the judges will score him on that. This Taka was excellent form, but again, you know, sort of on an easier section of the wave. You know, it's a far cry from like a fully committed goiter or something like that that happens out the back. I definitely think that maneuvers that are done early in the wave should be, and probably will be, scored higher, because the degree of difficulty and the degree of consequence is much higher if you start early with big moves. Here's Julien. He's gotten to that racy section on the inside. And see, this is a difficult thing, is like we've been practicing in pretty small waves leading up to this event. And so we were hugging the point for every little scrap of wave that we could get. Well, now things are changing very quickly, and the waves, as they get bigger, are coming around the point and swinging wider and actually breaking way further out into the bay. So, you know, it's up to the riders to adjust. This swell is so new. I mean, this morning when we woke up, it looked almost completely flat. By about 10 in the morning, as I was sailing out here, there was a few shoulder-high to head-high waves. And now we're looking at consistent, you know, possibly logo-high sets that have a very different energy to them. I mean, it's very palpable when you're out there in the water that there's a large swell coming, and it's coming very quickly and very fast. So the riders have got to adjust quickly to figure that out. And this is an interesting waiting game too that's happening here with Takuma and Joaquin, because, you know, in a sense you think, well, why doesn't Takuma just tack out and get this wave from Joaquin? And it's like, well, the wind is actually so light, there is the potential that Joaquin's going to get it. And I mean, it's clearly Joaquin is on this one already. So that was kind of a bummer for Takuma, that he was sitting on the inside like that, waiting for Joaquin basically to miss the wave, and then he didn't. But here's Joaquin. He's got great timing on that section. I mean, to come around the whitewater and get that nice critical lip twice.
Nice.
I definitely like to see that.
Whoa.
Nice floater.
I mean, not big, but those are good turns.
Yeah.
Joaquin came into the pros. He's just missing that section. He's not going to quite get the aerial opportunity. He could have had that, but he came into the pro bracket from the trials. He's a perennially great sailor. He's been around for a while. He was sailing a bit on the tour in the Chile events, and when he was studying engineering, and now he's working more full-time. But, you know, there's another one of these part-time guys from Chile who's he's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, windsurfing is a lifestyle. It takes many forms, and you don't have to be the ultra-competitive, dedicated guy to ride a wave well. I think that's one of the really beautiful things about wave sailing, is that it's like, yeah, you know, time and consistency and dedication, it all matters. But there is a sense of, like, if you're with it on the day and you're doing it right, then you're doing it right.
You can have your day.
Here's Takuma. It'll be interesting to see what he had earlier and what he does with this latter section if it starts to race. He spent a lot of time riding like different parts of this wave as well. Like, whereas a lot of times we were stuck up at the point just riding the beginning of the wave, he spent a lot of time sort of getting to know and familiarizing himself with like the entirety of this wave, which is a huge, super long wave. So he looks very comfortable as he's coming to the inside here, sort of milking it for everything that it's got, which I think is good because it's like you sink so much time into catching a wave here that it's like you might as well ride it all the way through.
And this is this last section where, okay, he's got a hit there.
Yeah.
I mean, Joaquin's got 4.27 for his wave. Takuma's pulling out there, and that was a very, very long ride. I mean, that's a 400-meter plus ride, maybe 500 even. He's probably gone past the buoy at the end of the marker, but I mean, Takuma's a real player. He's not mucking around. He knows how to grind out the scores and push himself to try to get every little piece he can out of these waves. He's a professional. It'd be interesting to see. There's not as much scoring potential in this wave. It just doesn't seem like there is.
No. Yeah, he's definitely gonna wish that that he had that wave of Joaquin's earlier. You know, especially because you spend so much time trying to get into the zone and you spend so much time waiting for those waves. But they gave him a 4.6?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So again, you know, we didn't see the upper part of that section that he was riding at the beginning. We sort of cut in halfway. 4.8. Again, Joaquin using the wave to ride upwind. I love to see stuff like that. You know, that happens. That happens. I'm sure he didn't think that he was going to be on camera at that particular time.
He just reached around for the boom and it just wasn't there.
It just wasn't there.
And he fell backwards into the water. Oh, well. Luckily, the water's nice and warm this year.
Yeah.
Look at these seagulls playing with the drone. Wow, they're coming in close. They think it's part of their flock.
Yeah.
I mean, the ocean's gone a bit calm again now, hasn't it? Look at that.
We do have some lines, but...
Well, we've got 15 minutes left in this heat. That's a 26-minute long heat, so that's 11 minutes down and 15 minutes to go. Each rider has a single wave score. Leading the pack at the moment is Julian Salmon with a 6.47 in the good range, not in the excellent range. Takuma and Julien and Joaquin all have scores in the fours, separated by a hair's breadth, really. So it's really going to come down to second wave scores and what they can milk out of this ocean. Right now, it's calm. We're waiting. Two of them are out the back ready, and the others are sort of trying to get themselves in. Actually, these guys aren't really ready. They're not in position yet, are they? They're just still heading up there.
Yeah, trying to figure out like where that little rock is, because that's where I always line up.
That's the one.
Yeah, there's a small little rock that sort of pokes his head up every now and then. And yeah, you can sort of gauge where you are on the wave by that rock. You know, again, that's another reason why that initial section, you know, it's an actual reef as opposed to the rest of the wave, which sort of breaks off like a sandbank. And that part of the wave is so much punchier, and it's so much more tricky to read because at first it seems like very fat, and then in a split second, it's done. It's already broken, and you're already behind it. So
It accelerates like hell, doesn't it?
oh my gosh, yeah. And
everyone talks about this wave being kind of soft, but it's not soft there.
no, it really isn't soft. And you know, last year, you know, I watched from Maui. I watched the live feed, and I saw Morgan and Antoine and Hayata, you know, getting some really great waves. And it was really interesting to see how far up the point that they were competing from. I feel like in the years that I was doing this event, you know, it was possibly a little bit more relaxed, a little bit less competitive.
Just a little.
We were not up there. Like, we were like very happy to start our waves at like the very easy to ride section. So it was really interesting for me to see that and be like, wow, they're actually starting from past the rock into this like super gnarly section and airing off of that section where the rock is somewhere around in the water.
Well, or getting closed down.
Yeah.
They went so far up, sometimes they were just getting shut down.
Or getting shut down. It was a very like risky make or break type of thing. But for me, it was just cool to see that there was a different approach, you know, to a wave that I thought I kind of had like figured out.
Yeah, got it wired.
So yeah, that was a big inspiration for me to come here this year. I was like, wow, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's so many new riders on the scene, and they're all bringing something new to the table. Here's Julian, eager to bring something new to this wave. Great turn again. Very similar to T21's turn. Love it. Here comes this next section. You can see there's like a side wall on the wave, so that'll kind of trip you up a little bit in terms of reading the wave. You're not sure if it's going to break early, break late, but Julian has so far read this wave with incredible skill. It's flattening out now, so he's going to probably try to fade back up into the section, and he's going to keep his eyes on the next section, the inside section. Again, you can see those sidewalls, and each one of those sidewalls sort of changes the dynamics of each individual wave, so it takes a lot of case-by-case reading to figure out exactly, like, well, how am I going to surf this wave on the inside? They're all different. But so far, Julian's done a pretty fabulous job of riding this inside section. You can see that that offshore wind starts to pick up more and more as you come to the inside as well. Like, it starts out quite light on the outside, and then once you get to the inside, it starts to really ramp up. That was a great wave. I mean, he's going to be super happy with that. Takuma's wave was sort of a takeoff from like more of an inside section. Yeah, he's kind of looking, but his feet aren't even in the straps. He's got one foot out. Okay, all right, I guess I'll go.
When he reads that well, he gets the floater out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's another section coming up.
He's eyeing this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, Takuma's, he's always going to get the best out of a wave. He's good like that. I don't know, do you remember back when he was a youth and he was sailing in the Aloha Classic youth final, the junior final, and we watched him do freestyle moves on the big waves, and initially we were thinking, oh, he's not going to do very well. Oh, here's Tituan on the replay. That's a lovely one, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of the difference maker. Like, for Takuma, he caught that wave on the inside sort of thinking, like, I need to get a backup score.
Right.
Because, you know, we all have pretty mediocre waves. But then here, Julian got a pretty excellent score. I mean, this was just the tail end of a really well-ridden wave.
Really good ride.
Yeah, but, you know, freestyle waves on the... or freestyle moves on the wave definitely hits a nerve for me, because I'm like, yeah, I love doing that kind of stuff, and I'm always wondering if it ever scores any points. It does, and that's a really cool like sort of trackable change that I've noticed in windsurfing and wave sailing. You know, since I sort of started, is like people are starting to open their minds to like, well, if it can be done on the wave, then isn't it a wave move?
Absolutely.
Like, for surfing, you know, if you do like a quote unquote like bunny hop maneuver, it's a bit like, okay, well, you've sort of broken the flow and all that kind of stuff. But if you are using your sail power to do something, then you've turned it into wind surfing. Like, it's really cool to see what people are doing, and just how much projection people are playing with. Like, even in freestyle. Here we go, Joaquin. I love the late drop into the straps and then right into his first turn. It's a bit difficult to pull that off, but sometimes very necessary because the wind out there is so light. You can tell he's definitely like feigning for some power. He's trying to pump. He's trying to figure out how he can get some more board speed on a very slow section that is completely petered out. But he's got the inside, and it definitely looks like it's going to line up very well. A great angle for the inside. That was a very nice sort of like tail carve top turn. I love to see those surfing-inspired moves. I mean, after everything I said about windsurfing being so unique, you know, and the sail being so important, at the end of the day, the rail still is the most important thing in wave riding. And he used his rail, like especially on the top turn, you see like him grabbing the lip. Here's Julian with a nice aerial. Sort of having a difficult time. Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. And it's like you want to use all that speed for something, you know, whether it be like a big deep bottom turn around it or whatever. But he's done a good job of recovering, and now he's sort of back in it again. And Julian has the flow of a surfer, you know, it's kind of rail to rail to rail. And he's never pausing. He's always sort of moving. He's always reading and feeling his board, and I really like to see that.
He's an excellent surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really impressive to watch in Fiji. I mean, you know, obviously he surfs in Tenerife quite a bit, so, you know, those are very heavy waves. So it kind of makes sense that he's a great surfer.
Good angle.
That was a nice aerial. It was a very windsurfing movie-esque type of shot.
Yeah, well, we love our windsurfing movie references. Anything that comes up, even close.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm really enjoying the dynamism of this this coverage. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really finding that the mix of angles and the rapidity, I don't know, the pace at which it moves, it's keeping it pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's really cool. I mean, the ability to change from the aerial angle back to the land angle again provides a lot of context in terms of like what's actually happening on this wave. You know, a lot of times the aerial angle makes it sort of look flat, but you get an expanded view of where the wave is. And this angle, this tight angle here, will show you the little minute details of what they're doing while they're wave riding and what sets them apart individually as sailors. And for Joaquin, it's definitely his rail game. I really like seeing that classic style. Even his hands, like watching his hands go from super spread out on the boom to then very close together on the top turn, then back out again. You know, those are the hallmarks of a very stylish and powerful windsurfer. Julien has I'd say, a much more new school approach to his wave riding. You can see that he's almost like a freestyle sailor. He's very much over the front of his board. He's over his front foot strap. You know, he's sort of hanging on the boom. He projects quite a bit with those aerials. That was really cool to see. And yeah, there's a lot more tail drifting as well. Well, we've got Julien well out in the lead, sitting very comfortably 4 points ahead of everyone else. And yeah, you know, sort of as you predicted, Simeon, it's a battle for second and a battle to get a better backup score in the dying minutes of the heat.
I mean, I'm just kind of surprised that the third heat in a row we've had our number one seed, in this case Takuma Sugi, the previous one Morgan, and the previous one Antoine. In every case, they've been struggling to get into the top two for the majority of the heat. Antoine didn't reach it. Morgan did it on a buzzer beater, and here's Takuma in the third place again, very close to Julien FLECHET. Now, in general terms, you would assume that Takuma should be better. I mean, his world ranking is better, his experience is bigger, but I don't know. There are so many people on the tour this year who are so good. Like, you give them their moment, you give them their day, and they can take it home.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's Julien backing it up like a true professional in the sense that he's never going to be done. He's never going to sort of ease off. He's always going to be looking to improve, and he's doing it right now. I mean, those are two incredible moves. Very nice timing on the third hit. You know, he doesn't even have to worry about being behind the section because this is the part that sort of fades off anyways. So here he is. He's going to be sort of waiting for that inside section. Yeah, he's in a really good spot at this point. I mean, now it's sort of gravy. It's like, what can I do on the inside to sort of like button it up?
Yeah, and it looks like here comes the button.
Nice. Fantastic. I like that aerial to start out with because it carries so much speed into the next turn.
I mean, there's a way to ride this wave.
Mm-hmm.
As with so many of these down the line waves, which we've seen now, you know, Fiji and here in Chile, the aerial is a key part of getting to the next section with good speed. I mean, it's often, if you can't do the aerial, you're really not going to be able to make the wave work properly for you, are you? It's such a big such an important part of making it the best it can be.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a way that windsurfing sort of sets itself apart from surfing, is that in a lot of cases, whereas for surfing, the aerial is used as an exclamation point or a showpiece or whatever, an aerial in windsurfing is a tool. Like, it's your way of sort of accessing more of the wave and getting yourself into the right section. And you know, people were really amazed to see that in Cloud Break, like you said before, where it's like the ability of, you know, Baptiste Clarec, for example, to air over a section that most of the surfers would end up having to kick out of or try to pull into. It's like a windsurfer doesn't have to commit that way. Right. They can sort of play it out and see, like, okay, well, actually, I'm just going to float over this section and then see what's waiting for me on the other side. That's exactly what Julien did here. He did an aerial section, you know, perfectly timed into another great turn, and that's a really great way to windsurf this wave for sure. So definitely be looking to see more of that in the future. As the waves, continue to get bigger, they'll get faster. It'll be more difficult to ride, and the requirement for creative riding will be higher and higher. Yeah, I mean, talking about it this morning with Takuma and Morgan and Antoine, we sort of all knew that it was going to be a difficult first day, because here we are at, 3 o'clock, 3:30. It's basically peak high tide, which changes the wave considerably. This wave has sort of the best shape at low tide or moving tide around low tide. And so high tide is very difficult to read. It's very difficult to get a good wave. A wave that looks good on the outside a lot of times will come in and end up sort of petering out, not being a good wave. So, the guys that are having trouble, they sort of knew that they were going to have trouble, but they didn't know exactly how to deal with it. I think Takuma's doing a great job. He's staying busy. It's just, how lucky are you going to get with the wave that you finally decide to pull the trigger on? This one does look good. I mean, he's able to link some really cool sections together so far. He's still in it. He's still got a good section. And this is about the time where a lot of the inside waves have been sort of petering out, whereas this one has just continued to bowl. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with that one, what score he gets.
Well, he's back here. He's got a 4.6 and a 4.47 right at the beginning of the heat, and then he's had a 1 and a 2.43. So we're waiting for that score from that nice wave to come through. And when that drops, he would be hoping, obviously, that it's up in the 5s at least. It may not be up in the 6s. I don't think it's going to crack the same sort of score that Julien was scoring. But, Julien FLECHET, for instance, has a 5.07. Oh, there we go. And Takuma's just taken it out. He's got a 5.5. That was what we needed to see. Well done, Takuma. And that was all because of that absolute determination to milk every part of that wave, wasn't it?
Yeah, his strategy, throughout the free sailing and clearly in this heat was to stay busy and also to hang a bit low. I think, it almost cost him in this heat because JOAQUIN pulled that set wave out from above him, basically. Right. He was sort of hanging low on the point. But because of that, he was able to rope into a few more. I mean, he was way more consistent in terms of catching the smaller waves, and eventually he got one that he sort of lucked out on. It's a tough break for Julien because he really did sail super well, and the waves that he did catch were good quality waves. I mean, he's lost by a hair, so.
Yeah. But look, he'll be proud of himself, he'll be very proud of himself. He's done very well getting himself into that position, and holding second for any period of time at this level is a very impressive feat, especially right up to a buzzer beater from the top seed, holding the top seed out. So congratulations to Julien, and also congratulations to JOAQUIN for making it into the elite field and sailing a very, very strong riding wave style. He's got such a fluid style. But the winners who advance to round 3, who'll jump round 2, Julien SALMONN with a very strong performance with 13.2 heat score, and TAKUMA SUGI, the #1 seed, with 10.2 heat score. Congratulations to those guys, and good luck to the others for the next rounds.